Okie dokie, hello there.
Hi there,
My name is Jarek.
my name's Simon.
Welcome to our bi-weekly almost Emma, where we are happy to answer any type of questions. And today the main focus is gonna be around StarCraft. Okay, it's gonna be quite long. I think I've got loads of slides to go through with you to show you a basic of the game, all the concept and everything else around it. I can see a number of questions. We're obviously gonna go through them as well.
Yeah, lots of questions to go through, so...
Where we should start? What do you think? Let's start with the slides, because we have to go through today's agenda.
Yeah, so on today's agenda, we got a quick disclaimer, some questions from social media, the base game design concept of the game, turn phases, dice mechanics, unit cards, and finally army building.
Yep. And we have to start with disclaimer. Obviously, this is the most important. Shimon, if you could read it out.
Yeah, so just quickly, everything shown and discussed in this AMA is subject to change. All content, including but not limited to miniatures, game rules, artwork, release schedules, and product plans, is considered preliminary and may be updated or revised at any time. Final designs and details is pending licensor approval. Visual representations may include prototypes, concept art, work in progress, materials that do not reflect the final product. Any timelines or features mentioned are estimates and not guaranteed. Sorry. All trademarks, logos, intellectual property belong to their respective owners and are used with permission where applicable. Participation in the AMA does not grant rights to any content shared or discussed.
Cool. That's the disclaimer. We have to go through just in case, because obviously this is a very large IP project, and I'm going to make sure that whatever we say, it's subject to change, by the way. So it's nothing written in stone at the moment in terms of releases, plans, whatever, rules even, as we work on them. So. Right, where we should start? We'll start with let's start with some questions from Discord and in general social media. Now, some of those questions we'll be also answering later, so if we skip them, we're going to be answering because we have slides dedicated to the game design, so we will be escaping some of the questions. But let's go through the first one.
So, Zash from the Discord, are you ready to talk more about how list building will work? It's still planning on using an app. The app is definitely most definitely still planned for the game. As for list building, we'll get more into the specifics later in this live stream.
Yep. Are you ready to talk more about what will be in the starter box, first wave of releases? Actually, at the moment, almost yes. I would say the starter box is the Terran versus Zerg. In the Terran starter box, that's 2-player starter box, and in the same time will be available a separate box just for Protoss. What is the content of the box? At the moment, we're looking at 2 squads of the Marines, we're looking at medics and Marauders for Terran. For Zerg, we are looking at 2 squads of Zerglings, a Queen, and the Roaches. Roaches, yeah. And Protoss, at this stage, we're looking at having 2 squads of Zealots, 1 squad of Adepts and Sentry. And then in the same time, we will have a number of things available through like a first wave. So you're gonna get additional units. You'll be able to purchase additional units. Okay, let's go for the next question.
Yep. What will victory conditions be in the standard format? Victory points, elimination, or both? So right now we have a combination of both. The most common scenario we have right now is essentially there are points on the map and you get, there are objectives on the map and you get points for controlling them, but you also get points for eliminating the supply of an enemy. So essentially if you damage your unit or kill it enough, you get a point for that. And of course we're going to be experimenting with all sorts of other victory conditions as well. It's going to be fully scenario based.
Next one.
And the final one, what do the 2 different numbers in the squad size supply boxes mean on the unit cards?
We're gonna go for that later.
StarCraft, terrain with different heights. Does the game support this? Can units climb over some smaller terrain? The way height works is essentially we have like a height statistic, and essentially every single piece of terrain, it's segmented into different tiers of size or height, essentially. And for example, some units can see over terrain while others can't, and you can sometimes even hide behind the terrain.
So effectively,
if your height allows for it.
So effectively, we don't use true line of sight in the game. We do use line of sight, but not true line of sight, which means we needed to implement a separate type of mechanics, which is called the size for units and size for the elements on the table. So just give you some understanding. I do have tables set up, just if you want to see. So, because if there's some question about the in general mechanic, we can go through. But that's the marine. Marine size is 2. That's the size 2 terrain. This means
the walls specifically.
The wall specifically.
Yeah.
You might not see my mouse, or maybe you see my mouse. But the wall in the corner here, it's a terrain which is basically size 2, which means this one.
Yeah, that's a size 2 wall, just as an example.
Yeah, so when you want to do line of sight to that unit, to the Zerglink unit over there, you do line of sight normally, so you just see whether there's a line connecting a marine base with the base of the Zerglink, and this is what you can see it through. It's a very simple system. It's the one system which really, really works, and there is no discussion whatsoever, because before the game you agreed to the size of the terrain. For the terrain we supply, there will be information about it, what size of terrain is. So it's very, very, very straightforward. Yeah, let's move on.
Will the sides of the terrain be on the bottom half of the terrain as well? Just as a quick reminder.
Yes, that's what we think about this one. So every single terrain will have on the bottom information about the size of it. Now, whether we're gonna be using there was a question about doing. Hold on a second. Let me just change that. Yeah. So there was also a question about different heights. Yes. So you can actually climb over terrain. There is a movement mechanic for the climbing over terrain. So if the
that's specifically more for specific units, right? Or
no, all the units can actually move on the terrain which is your size. So if you have a wall, you want to climb up on the size 2, you just basically move on there. You cannot move 2 sizes up at the same time. So the size unit 2 cannot actually move to height of 4. Simple. It's really simple. What is the next one?
Can you tell more specific info about the height tiers so we can start crafting our own terrain? So as for specific height, how it's split, we'll get more into that once we release the official rulebook. But for now, we're still figuring things out, so we can't release exact info right now.
Yeah, so, but briefly, we have a unit size for 1, 2, and 3. Zerglings are 1. Majority of the units are size 2, and then we have size 3 for the units, like Goliath or Queen. So those are much bigger. They cannot hide behind any type of terrain. And then terrain size as well, 1, 2, and 3, and unlimited one, which is like a one which hides everything behind it. That's it. And it's by the inches, by the way. So, but we will explain more in the rulebook.
And here we have Met Kobold from the Discord. StarCraft, so Siege Tank, a variable build / removable parts, or shouldn't we get our hopes too high and prepare ourselves either for the mobile or stationary version with no in between?
Our engineering team is actually working on something special, so we'll see whether we can be able to do that and make the tank which will allow us actually to have that one. But bear in mind, this is not first wave of releases, this is the third wave of releases. So we're a little bit ahead in terms of sculpting and so on, but you may expect a tank in the future. We will see what we can do engineering wise.
StarCraft, can we get the SCV model?
There was a plan to actually add SCV model for tournaments. So if you're going to participate in the tournament, you can win gold as SCV. We will see.
Is it the plans for a playable SCV model?
No, not playable SCV.
Okay. StarCraft, any plans to make models for the elite units from StarCraft 1, such as the Hunter Killers, Devouring Ones, or the Tarask? If so, how they visually differ from the default versions?
Maybe in the future. That's what we're thinking. For those of you who don't know what these units are, Hunter Killers are different version of Hydralisk. Yeah. Devouring Ones are Zerglings, very, very powerful Zerglings, and Tarask is, I think Tarask was the hero for
it's a hero Ultralisk. But there's a couple of other ones like that, like the Kukulza for the Mutalisk. But yeah, definitely something where we're going to be considering. It's also worth mentioning that for there was this narrative scenario mode we were kind of working on for some time. And you could select from a list of unique upgrades, and one of those unique upgrades allowed you to replace your existing unit of Zerglings with just a Devouring one, which is just a single Zergling, but it's very, very powerful. Visually, of course, in this case it wouldn't be different, but in the future, if we do plan to like release a dedicated set just for these kinds of miniatures, then yes, they would probably be visually different.
Yeah. Also, just to mention, we've been working on the Kerrigan. So Kerrigan, she has its own brood of Zerglings, and they're a little bit more powerful. So you will find across different factions, different like upgraded units, which use the same units you have, but use different card for that unit.
Kuro from the Discord. StarCraft, are you planning any cooperation / promotion content with StarCraft content creators? Definitely in the future it's coming. We can't speak too much about it right now, but we definitely have some things planned.
Yeah, and there's a mention about the RSL. Yes, we support RSL at the moment, so please go and watch them. And this cooperation will be even larger, bigger once we have more content to show and share with them. So we really hope the RSL will grow even bigger. We did mention many times this one. Whatever community is going to do for us, and people are going to play this game, more we're going to be giving back to the community, and then more we're going to be supporting this type of events like tournaments and so on.
Strict from the Discord. What kind of terrain is used in the game? Amount, dimensions, different levels, unique terrain for objectives. So right now there's just going to be like pretty basic walls in the starter set, but I think in the future we do plan to release like more advanced terrain with like special rules and whatnot.
We will be talking about this one just in a minute. We have a slide dedicated for the terrain, what we plan to do.
Yeah, there you go. And any plans on making StarCraft specific terrain sets like DNL and terrain starter as well. There's going to be terrain in the starter boxes, but there will be separate terrain sets in the future as well.
That's correct.
For StarCraft, what is the most obscure character, vehicle, monster that you're most excited to make?
Archon. I mean,
it's not really obscure though, is it?
It's not obscure, but I am Zerg player, right? So I should think about Zerg units, but the company is called Archon for the reason.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited because it's going to be an extremely challenging model to make. It's going to be almost 80% of that model will be clearly plastic, and then 20% of the normal plastic. So I'm waiting for that model.
Maybe it's not as obscure, but I'm really looking forward to all the outlaws from Tychus's cult faction, specifically Sirius and Kev, or Rattlesnake.
Yeah. So in terms of obscurity, what about a primal Zerg? That's something which we think about this.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like super obscure, but it's out there. Yeah.
Hybrids.
They're like the main antagonist of the series. I wouldn't call them that obscure.
Yeah. Next one.
Are there possibilities of having custom faction dice?
Yes, we might have a custom faction dice. At the moment, is waiting for the samples, and once we have the samples, we will think about adding them like an optional purchase if you want. In a starter box, you're going to find normal D6 dice.
Oh, just going back to the previous question.
Yes.
Predators will finally be good.
Oh yeah, that's the one. Nobody. I mean, when we talk about the Terran doesn't have any close combat units. No, they do have. They call Predators. We don't.
Oh, but there's also Hugs. You can't forget about them. One day we'll get Hugs. Zash from the Discord again. Are you still planning on having magnet slots on the bottom of the bases? If so, what size of magnets?
We do have them. We do have every single base has got them. So Hopper show them. So there is on the bottom of the base.
Yes, it's visible. Yep.
Yeah. So it's a 5 by 5 millimeter by 3 millimeter. However, I need to confirm this one. There is a 5 by 3, by the way. So I said that out loud, but just in case, it should be 5 by 3. So every single base will have it. Next one.
So how was Essen? Learn anything? Anything like interesting?
Yeah.
I was running demos during Essen.
So.
I mean, it was great to see people be really excited. I think the one thing I learned was people are starting to recognize me just from my face, and it's pretty scary. You're just walking around the convention, suddenly someone stops you because they recognize you're from Archon. Even though I dyed my hair and everything, I bleached it. Yeah, it's like I was really shocked because I didn't do a reveal or anything before this live stream.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that. It was really exciting. There was so many people, really. I kind of want to throw the question back to you guys, if you're watching. If you were at Essen, if you got to play a demo, please post your feedback or your general thoughts on the demo, just online or on our Discord, anywhere. I guess it just lets us know how people are feeling more or less about the game. From the feedback we have seen and received at the demos, it was like quite positive. So I think that's a good sign, but.
Again, it's a very good sign.
Again, we'd love to see more on the internet as well.
Especially that we scan the internet just looking for any type of comments whatsoever, and then majority, all of them being very, very positive about the game. And you have to also think that demo was just very simple demo. We wanted only to show the basics of the game, like this is how you move models, this is how you make combat, and so on, so on, so on. There was no even that tactical depth in the game just to explain. But based on that one, having the great feedback is actually very good.
There's a couple more questions.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So can you explain the reasoning behind the diminished returns of squad size compared to the supply cost of some units? So, for example, Marines being 6 models for 1 supply and 9 models for 2 supply. Unless you want to go to that later, because I think
we're gonna go through that later.
Yep.
But we have to remember that to discuss this one because it's about the cost unit.
Follow-up question: is there anything preventing me from running just 2 units of Marines? No, there's nothing preventing you.
Supply.
Other than supply, of course. And another mechanic, which we'll get to a bit later. Will you be releasing other promotional miniatures for the other factions? Yes, definitely in the future.
Yes, we have to just quick remark about that one. The miniature you buy, the special miniature you buy, you also gonna get like normal version of it as well later on in the future, right? So we're not gonna be just Zeratul needs to be on a table in a normal version as well. So that miniature is just replacing the miniature you're gonna have. We'll be able to purchase in the future.
Blade from the Discord: will Protoss be released at the same time as the starter sets? Yes, it will be. When can we expect release dates? More exact release dates once we're closer, so more towards the end of this year.
I can tell you what the target is. So the target is to start doing any type of pre-orders on our website in the first quarter of next year, and probably starting in January, and shipping product in March. So
but again, as always, this day is very subject to change. Originally, we wanted to start this year, but we've moved it a bit, but just because we need a bit more time. And of course, this isn't like a Kickstarter or anything like that. This is like we're doing pre-orders and then it's straight to retail.
Yeah.
So like shortly after you've already probably like seen the miniatures, you've seen the plastic sprues as well. Like we're doing production, we have it ready. We just need a bit more time to figure some things out and also note down how many orders, because there's a lot of excitement about the game, and it's going to take us some time to like physically produce everything we need, depending on.
It's much different than any type of campaigns we run it. So normally when we run like a crowdfunding campaign, we run the crowdfunding campaign, then we do tooling, then we do production. Usually everything is spread out across like 8 months, 9 months, even sometimes 1 year. Now here the expectations are even double or triple what we did in the past. And on top of that, there is only a very short window of where we can do it, so we need to speed it up and make it sure that everything is out in March.
When can we expect rules to go public?
I would say January, along with pre-orders.
And what will the starter box include? We explained that earlier. When can we pre-order? And that's also explained. StarCraft. During the Essen preview, there were nice combat sheets of units such as the Roach. How can we expect these sheets in distribution? Digital only with print and play option? Sheets sold separately in packs or included in the box?
Definitely included in the box. It's when we go through the sheet, because we have one to show you. I will show you the reason why they need to be in the box, and they're going to be in the box. So.
What's the plan for retail distribution? Will the release date for retailers be the same as Archon's web store, or will it be later for retailers? If retailers can't get the product in store at the same time release date as Archon, it might have a negative impact on the game's reach.
I don't think so. You will have the negative impact on the game's reach. And yes, the web store will be the first one to ship, so that's kind of early bird. At the same time, when we start shipping, we're going to be finalizing the pre-orders for distribution and then push to the distribution. You have to, again, think about this like it's not a crowdfunding project. If that was a crowdfunding project, I would say yes, it might have negative impact in terms of distribution, but here no, there is no such a risk. We discussed this one with distributor, we discussed this one with our biggest partner. They say that's good, that's great, make sure the game is out first, and then we will do sales. So Essen Spiel.
Yeah, pictures. These are some pictures of the big table that some of you might have seen at the event. Yeah, it's like a big diorama, tons of minis, all 3 factions as well present on the table. Like Zeratul up on the big temple as well.
Exactly. That was the first time we showed so many models out there. So if you scan the internet, you will find plenty pictures. So I just want to show you. So I want to say thank you for participating. There's a big thing from that one is I was very happy with how the demos were going. Very happy with the feedback, looking at the internet feedback, looking at everywhere around it. So the game seems to be extremely good direction, I would say, if this is something I say. So
yeah, now we're going to move on to like the core concept of the game, or kind of like drive you through our like thought process behind some of the decisions made in the core game design.
We have to make a small disclaimer here, because I would expect that in our we've been watched now on stream by people who never played tabletop miniatures games as well. So we have to take it like divided into 2 sections. This section is very like take you through the process of our thought process about designing. So it's going to be very easy for somebody who played tabletop miniatures to understand the thought process.
Do you want to maybe go through some questions in the chat first? Because there's probably a lot right now.
We did mention list boosting already. What countries do we ship to? We will ship globally except to Russia and Belarus, because those countries are fully embargoed.
And there's probably like some other
kind of missions are planned for the game. No, the missions are planned for the game. Obviously, before the game starts, you draw. We have a draft system for the missions and draft system for the deployment. So you have a 5-6 missions in the box, and then we plan to expand this one in the future. No, there is no resource collection in mechanics planned. However, there is a resource, something we added, you won't see it on this card, something we are currently working on to streamline the mechanic in the game. We have 2 mechanics for the resource management. We streamlined to one, but there is no collections, resource collections. When was mentioning fog of war mechanic? Could you elaborate? I will be there just in a second. Will we approach the game balance? Yes, so definitely we use a lot of math in terms of balancing of the game. This is something different than other companies. We balance our game based on the math, and then later on, if we see something goes wrong or whatever, we do updates, and it will be FAQ.
That's probably something you need to like explain, because it's worth noting that not all designers actually use math when designing war games.
Oh, okay. So
because I don't think that's immediately obvious.
We have loads of calculations. We do like lots of calculation in the background just to see how one unit is affecting against the other unit, and then based on the effectiveness one unit against the other unit, we will see the percentage factor, and that percentage factor is offsetting the points value for the other unit.
But more specifically, I was just referencing the fact that some designers, they just feel like designing for pure vibes. They just play around with the unit, see how it feels, and just go from there. Whereas we're more like numbers based.
That's true. We have slightly different approach to designing of the game. We want to make sure that the game doesn't cheat you. So when you play the game, you don't feel that unit is overpowered for the points value it costs. So we have to first put this first one in the structure. By the way, there's a very nice video. I keep sending this video to our designers, everybody else. It's about the game designing, and it talks about the Jedi curve, and it's called Perfect Imbalance. This video is from like 10 years ago. It's available on YouTube. You can watch it, and it will take you through the concept and idea of balancing the game. And especially there's some examples from StarCraft, from League of Legends, and so on, and then Magic the Gathering. Explain you how it works and what the Jedi curve is. So the Jedi curve is something which is the fun thing, which means when you balance the game, when you balance the unit against each other, you add something like a little bit small rules, which make that unit very interesting, very fun, but it doesn't break completely the system or doesn't break the concept of the game. So watch that video. I've been watching this video like several times, but all my team actually is aware about that one. It's a good video, right? It talks about the core concept of designing the perfect imbalance or perfect balance game. releases, what we plan to do, releases?
It's every wave is 2 months, right?
At the moment, yes. We plan to do like every 2 month releases, and in that release you will find one element for each of the factions. So we're not going to be giving you a tons of miniatures at the same time and then keep pumping out releases. We have to make sure that the game is good and so on and so on. Just going back to the previous question, yes, obviously at some point we will do FAQs, the rules clearing and so on and so on, some points values, adjusting whether we need them or not. And the good example actually for how good we are in terms of balancing of the game is Battleground. So Moto Battleground, this is the game which hasn't received any
very minimal.
Fixes?
Yeah, it's very, very minimal there. Like there's a couple points tweaks, to my knowledge, but it's been like very, very mostly hands off, very minimal adjustments. Just kind of observing kind of like the tournament scene. If something is like dominating, then we can like maybe tune it down a bit.
Yeah, but it's overall, you know, this game being played by 25,000 people. This is how many starters we have sold out thus far, and I never heard anything like something is totally broken or whatever.
Yeah, so, people are usually very quite positive about the design overall balance as well.
Yep. We talk about the releases, so we plan this one. We plan like a map, additional map packs, additional many things we plan. We'll see how many of those things we're gonna be able to manufacture, and with the licensor obviously approval. Okay, but there's a huge plans for that one. Definitely miniatures every 2 months. If that is gonna be too fast for audience, we're gonna spread this one across every quarter. Yeah, but every faction will get something, so you will have new miniatures, new models to play with, and you know, shift the meta slightly and so on and so on. Will you be supporting large tables, supply limit, standard gaming table of 70 to 48?
Yep.
So actually our small game is 3x3. However, the big game, or normal, or we'll call this vanilla game, is 6x3. So it's not that far away from 72 by 48. 6x3 is the perfect table for this game, especially with the higher supply limits. Should we go through?
These are still all just questions from before the live stream launched, so I imagine there's probably a lot more.
I'm guessing yes, but some people probably asking the same question twice or three. These are good questions.
Could you give us a roadmap of releases?
We will do next year. Once we launch the co-op box, we will give you specific releases, because we cannot do it at the moment. I need to make sure that I have at least 3 or 4 releases upfront, approved and in manufacturing, in order to give you that one, and then you're gonna get it like a robust delivery date.
Warhammer, both Old World and 40k feature a lot of sub-factions for any given faction. Will there be any mechanics for that? Absolutely they are planned. I'm personally pushing for, I guess, more closed-off factions as well, where they can potentially take away some options, but that's just me personally. I know you're more of a bigger fan of just adding to the existing... adding options to the existing faction, but yeah. We're still like figuring things out with the sub factions and everything.
Okay, let's move on to this. We're gonna move through a couple of slides, and then we will come back here to questions, just to carry on answering questions. I'm very sorry for us speaking so fast, because it's so much material we have to show you, and there is so many questions that we might do another Ask Me Anything just regarding to StarCraft once I'm back from Blizzard next month. So what we try to do, we try to represent this type of scenario. This is like the last element, the last engagement, and so on, so on. So that's the whole concept for the game. So there is no beginning of the game, there is no end of the game. This is basically the last final battle in the middle and center of the map. So there's several elements we can do, and then I call this one the StarCraft DNA. So when you look at the StarCraft, there's some elements we like to use from StarCraft and translate it into tabletop miniatures game. So those being base building, openings. So for those of you who play StarCraft just occasionally, or maybe single player games, those openings means nothing. Openings are actually the type of strategies you find in a StarCraft game. Will be explained in a minute. Fog of War thing, APM, I know, sounds crazy, War of Attrition, and obviously maps. So how we do those things? Okay, there's some things to talk about for those of you who play tabletop miniatures games. Now we have, in general, we see there are two type of games in that universe. One type of the game is a strategy game, and the other one type of the game is a tactical ones.
So
for the strategical game, you can read it out and...
Yeah, so for strategic games, you generally command much bigger armies. It's an I-Go-You-Go activation system, and there's more of a focus on army composition, and there's a huge variety in models and factions. Essentially, the way I can describe this in a nutshell is it's more about building an engine and executing it as well as possible, or better than your opponent. And now we can move to the tactical version.
Yeah,
and tactical games are more about reacting to what your opponent's doing and the smaller individual on the table, minute kind of movements.
Yeah, so you got command squad or individual models, alternative activation system, focus on the unit composition and upgrades, and unit diversity by upgrade. So you have a selected unit, you can do different upgrades, and all of a sudden that unit is good against something else, and so on.
These are also like general military terms. Like your strategy is like the overarching plan you have to achieve a certain objective, whereas tactics are how you're going to achieve that objective specifically once you're on the ground.
Exactly. So when we look at the StarCraft video game, we decided to actually that game needs to be much closer to tactical game, and one of the reasons why there's several elements, but what we try to do added to that game is hybrid activation, which brings closer to the tactical. You have phases and alternate activation each of the phases. Supply mechanic. This is kind of escalation rules. So you don't have a tabletop miniatures game with escalation rules, by the way. So
there are some, but not too many.
So for those of you who might not understand what the escalation rules are, usually you start with escalation rules. There's Magic the Gathering is escalation rules because every round you add additional mana, additional things, and your army get bigger and bigger. This is kind of here we have kind of escalation rules. I will get that just in a second and explain this one. Mobility in the game. This game is extremely mobile.
Very dynamic. It takes some time getting used to when it comes to seeing how units move. But I think it's pretty rewarding once you get used to how mobile all the units are on the table.
Yeah, and with all of those game mechanics and what we want to approach, there's no Alpha Strike. So Alpha Strike, for those of you who never played tabletop miniatures game, is a kind of cancer mechanic of playing the game. It is.
It's one way of saying it.
It's a horrible. Basically, if in the mechanic I go, you go. When you activate your entire army, you can basically eliminate 25% of my army, and whatever left, it's then to activate and kick me back. But obviously, because we lost already 25% of your army, you have much more less resources to inflict any type of damage. So in this game, we effectively eliminate this Alpha Strike with all those mechanics we hadn't mentioned, and that's hence the reasons why we want to make more tactical game than a strategical game. Base building. How are we going to be doing base building? So that's the lovely base building. So we decided that this mechanic needs to be pre-game. So there's some mechanic in pre-game which we have to do it, and in general it includes your cards. So it's a part of army building mechanic, and which means you have X resources available for buildings. Which means if we're going to play at the moment what we're testing, if you're going to play 2,000 points army, you get like 10%, so 200 points just to spend on the cards. And these cards, additional cards, and they at the moment looks like that. Don't look at the graphical because we use them for SN. They just basically something
work in progress.
Work in progress. We're gonna add some nice graphics into there, and then so on. But in general, this is what you get there, and those are tactical cards. And also you also get before the game start faction cards. But tactical cards allows you to activate some additional elements in the game. So like orbital scan, for instance. So and so on. Again, this will be fully explained once we're gonna go for the next stage when we're really going to explaining the rules, how they play. But we have base building in the game. It is pre-game, and you're using cards. So you don't build any buildings, you don't put any buildings and whatsoever in the game. The game needs to be just, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's that combat in the middle. So all that happened before there. Openings, so that would be kind of for more professional people who knows exactly what I mean by that. So like a strategist, we have to include those things like a strategist like proxy barracks, 6 pool for instance, and 4 gate. Now you have those openings also pre-game. So in the process of building your base, you also select a different type of tactical cards, and these tactical cards could be those things like proxy barracks, for instance. So this card allows you to do something different on the battlefield. For instance, the proxy barrack, as it mentioned, mentioned in the movement phase, the first friendly infantry unit deployed each round can be entered through a natural edge. This means you can bring
neutral edge.
Neutral edge. You can bring them from any side of the table, as long as there is no enemy 8 inches away. So you will get those type of strategies and cards to be used in a game. So when it comes to the playing the game, when you start with your opponent doesn't know your list, and he might be surprised with this type of openings or this type of strategies. So we also have to use them, and that's how we implement it pre-game. Then Fog of War. This is where we're going to spend a little bit more time. Fog of War in general is very difficult to implement in any type of miniatures game. So what we say, it's a pre-game and in-game mechanic. So why pre-game and in-game? So everything which is outside, so everything beyond the game table is Fog of War, right? So we were thinking how we can implement a Fog of War. So the only one way we can do that is to say to your enemy, I do have like a bunch of units behind the gaming table. I'm gonna bring them, but you don't know what type of units I have. And this is the part of implementing of the Fog of War. So I do have reserves, quite a lot of them, because they, in general, this mechanic, which we call supply or hidden reserve and supply, it allows you to keep maybe 50% of your army out of the table. So enemy doesn't know what you have there. In fact, the supply mechanics allows you to don't put much on the table anyway in the first round, and you can just drop more units on the second round or third round. It's up to your strategy how you want to play it. So everything off the table, so away of the gaming table, is Fog of War. So, and hidden reserves allows them to go to this one. And then if you combine this with a type of strategy cards you have in the game, so let's say a dropship, right? So it is even multiply this effect of Fog of War. So imagine now we start the round, I have a movement phase, I activate the unit off the table, I use my tactical card for a dropship, I drop my miniatures somewhere when I need them, or my squad when I need them, and all of a sudden enemy knows, okay, so all of a sudden you have a Marines, additional Marines, so you have them on list and they appear on the table. So that's the thingy. And then a limited number of units on the table at the same time via supply mechanic. So as I mentioned, there's a supply mechanic which everybody loves at Essence Spiel, and there were really lots of discussion about this mechanic. So it means that there is a limit of units you can have on the table at the same time. If you lose some units, your supply is freed and you can put more units on the table in the movement phase. And then on top of that, every round the supply limit is increased by 1, which means this is the escalation element. So even if we don't do much combat on the table, we're gonna bring more units. We're gonna bring more units every turn. So effectively, why we did this one? For several reasons. One of the reasons I call it like I call this one point of no return, which I absolutely hate in the wargaming, is when you play, even if you're a friend, all of a sudden in the second round of the game or third round of the game, you know you lost the game because you don't have a tools to fight. You lost your miniatures, you lost everything. This effect won't happen in this game. Shouldn't happen in this game. At least for across all the games we played, you always have tools to put on a table and still carry on game. So that is extremely important mechanic in the game. So you focus more on a tactical, not elimination, like full elimination, yeah? So again, mention about the supply. So we have a squad size, we have a supply here. Squad size, this is how many models you have in each of the squads. So you can have 2 for 2 supply or 4 for 3 supply. Yep, that's the supply mechanic. Now, there was a question about the supply mechanic I can mention here. The points, what you not see here, which is going to be separately, it's a points value for each of the models, right? So for each of the squads. So 2-man squad or 4-man squad, they cost differently. And because of the supply is much less, 4-man squad is going to be cheaper. So we want to allow people to actually have little bigger squads for cheaper. Hold on. I know we're going to say, oh my goodness, this means if I gotta get bigger units, I will have like more power to hit. No, it's actually very, very nicely balanced with so-called surge in a game. And also sometimes, in some cases, many cases, you want to have more activation in a round in order to control the objective. So
it's essentially a trade-off.
It's always trade-off.
Yeah,
pros and cons. Yeah, for whether you want to go for the smaller units or larger units. So we did with the search mechanic in this game, especially with the search die, we put the ceiling on how many I don't want to call them like unsalvable ones. how we call them?
Well, I mean, it's not technically an unsavable wound because it essentially cancels out a save.
It cancels the saves, yeah. So there is a ceiling for your unit attack. So even if you take a massive unit, it doesn't really mean much, you know. But I have to explain this one in depth later.
Maybe we can go through some questions now, because I'm sure they've piled up so far now.
We shipping at the moment. That's good remark, because tomorrow we have to send email to USA and Canada, to USA basically people who purchase this one. So if you watch and you're based in USA, that's message to you. I mean, we're shipping at the moment everything in Europe. We plan to ship everything to our warehouse in USA first, and then distribute it from warehouse. So every single person from USA won't be paying any type of tariffs. Anything, just basically what you pay, you're going to get it. Unfortunately, we have to wait an additional week to ship those things, but that's the trade-off. You're gonna wait 1 week extra, but you're gonna get it with no additional cost whatsoever. Would you translate rules to other languages? Hell yeah. But we're going to start with English first. The plan is start with English first. Let's put the game on there for 6 months. Let's see how people play, what exactly we need to do in terms of FAQ, if there isn't anything. And let's put those things we need to FAQ and then translate the rules to other languages.
Will the rules and character cards be free to download? Yes, absolutely.
Yes. That's our policy.
What will be the average game length? It depends. The small table format, I'd say.
They played today. They played today. There was like about, I would say about an hour and a half for the small table. For the large table, it's about 2 hours.
Was that with explaining rules, or were they already familiar?
They knew the rules. They knew the rules. I mean, they were play testing, so they knew the rules.
Will there be a co-op mode or more narrative modes? I can definitely see them in the future. Once we go start making more narrative scenarios, definitely we can try co-op mode as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know the current global situation led us to try shipping fees on the StarCraft promo. So again, regarding this, we're going to handle all the tariffs, essentially, from our side. As mentioned, we're going to just ship it a bit later, but you won't have to pay anything extra once it arrives.
Will this exclusive model be available again in future? Yes, obviously, yes.
At every trade show. The ones where we sell.
Similar to the Motu.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. Exactly the same as with Motu miniatures. For those of you who don't know what I mean by Motu miniatures, is basically whenever we go to trade show and this model will be available at the trade shows, it will be also available on our website to purchase. You get a notification. Yes, so there is element of upgrades. I will go there just in a sec when I'm going to show you the card for the unit card. Yes, there are some skills you can buy for individual unit.
This one's a good question from Subsurian. Is the Pylon Center Kadaran Crystal...
Hold on a second.
Just one higher.
Okay.
Is the Pylon Center Kadaran Crystal finalized as grey plastic or instead of clear plastic?
The pylon itself will be clear plastic. I mean, I do have some already. There was a pylon. Where's the pylon?
Because we only have
we only have this
3D printed one.
This is 3D printed, by the way. So the one you have seen it on the pictures is 3D printed, but it's gonna be clear plastic. Actually, mixed of plastics. It's gonna be clear plastic and solid plastic. So those things which should be clear are gonna be clear.
If I was terrible at the StarCraft video game, will I also be terrible at the miniatures game?
I tell you something. When I play now competitively, I always keep saying myself, I'm too old to be pro. But you're never gonna be too old to be pro in tabletop miniatures game, because it's so slow that you can actually learn it and play it very, very good.
Yeah, but on the plus side, at least you won't have someone yelling at you in the all chat in this game. There won't be as much shit talking as there usually is.
Yeah.
Because the other person's right in front of you. They're probably not going to start screaming at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully, I hope so.
Yeah.
Depends on the way you play.
Yeah. Okay, let's go through this. So APM, now sounds crazy how you can implement APM in turn-based game. You know what, we were thinking how to do in-game mechanic. So I do something faster than you, or you do something faster than I, and then I can do some other actions before you. So we have this mechanic which is called the phases and pass. So seizing initiative. So the players alternate activation in each phases until the player decides to pass or seize the initiative and to seize initiative in the following phase. How this one works? I mean, let me just show you something. So that's the activation mechanic in the game, right? So we have phases. We have movement phase, we have assault phase, and close combat. Close combat phase. And if I'm the player if I'm player number A and I start activation of my model, so I do my movement phase. In the movement phase, I do movement of my unit. Once I finish this one, it goes to the player B. The player B does it, and then goes back to me. I do my movement and goes to player B, and player B decided to pass.
Yeah, right. In this example, they decide to pass early instead of making an action.
For instance. So I didn't carry on my activations, and all my I can still do an activation of my units. However, this player will be the first one to activate it as a first in assault phase. So you have to make sometimes choice between I want to move it all my units, or I want to be first to charge, or be first to make a range attack, or be first to move again, or something along those things. So this is how it works, and this is kind of simulating this APM. So because you're still busy with clicking somewhere there and clicking your units and moving your units, I'm gonna be first one to actually do a move and attack and so on. And it goes along with the assault phase. So assault phase works exactly the same. Player A say pass, he's not doing anything. Player B continue doing actions in that phase, and then following is the last round when we have a close combat, and then again the initiative is moved to player A who select the first unit to be fighting, and then goes to player B, and so on until we finish all the activation and we finish round. So there is that trade-off sometimes of you want to sometimes finish fast, or you want to just carry on, and so on. Very nice tactical approach to the game. I think people like this one a lot. This is the second mechanic which we had lots of comments on Essentially, where people really like that one. So yeah. I will explain in a sec everything in terms of all the actions you can do in each of the phases. So word of attrition. Okay, so this is for the people who never play tabletop miniatures games, basically. So as in a video game, you have a XYZ resources available for your army. It's exactly the same here. However, you use this one pre-game. So in a pre-game, you have something which is called limited resources, army building mechanics with the fixed resources available for each player, points. This means you have a points to spend. So let's say the vanilla game is 2,000 points. Then you build your army roster with 2,000 points worth of miniatures, and then supply value. No additional in-game resources beyond the army roster. Yes, I know this is kind of what we already answered. However, the problem with collecting any type of miniatures, it's just another mechanic on top of all the mechanics we have, and we found this one completely obsolete for this game, because the game is so fast in combat. You move, you attack, you move, you attack. There is no time for your units to go and collect miniatures or minerals or whatsoever. It doesn't work basically for this game. We did try many variations, believe me, we tried like a collection on a card, we did collection on a table and everything. It simply doesn't work for this type of game. And then once a unit is fully eliminated, it cannot be redeployed. So that's your war of attrition. You have your army, you have your roster army sheet, and then basically whenever you use from it, like completely it's gone. That's it. So yeah, and it's an example of the army roster released when you have like 12 zerglings. You buy some upgrades for each of the units. This one was made with the previous rules anyway, but it shows you 1,000 points of army. You use 12 zerglings, 3 roaches, 2 handler lisk, and 1 queen, and you have 1,000 points army, which is enough to play on a small table. Okay, and then obviously each of them got their own individual supply available for the army to bring them on the table. Maps. That is one of the biggest questions and to answer about how we're going to tackle the maps thingy. Maps are very important, in my opinion, extremely important. However, we're not going to be doing this one like initially to start with. We're thinking about wave 2 or maybe wave 3 to introduce those map packs. So what's the idea here? So the map packs, there will be a pre-made list of maps. So we're going to give you a piece of terrains. We're going to show you how to place and where to place those elements. And then we're going to give you a gaming mat, and we're still working on gaming mats, whether it's going to be paper or it's going to be like a different material. So why we need that? Because the tournaments play. So in the future, we think that this game could be nice also implemented in the tournament play. So it means that there's going to be some fixed maps you can test on it, try it, or learn how to play it, or build your own strategy based on that map. And then if you play 5-6 games on exactly map as we provided to you, then you can go on a tournament and show your skill and basically, you know, have opening based on the map. I mean, that's the great thing about the StarCraft, because you play on a fixed map. When you have your own opening, you know which opening is better for this map and how to get opponent surprise. So, but that means also we will be having some iconic maps. Just imagine something like that. So
on a bigger scale, of course.
On a bigger scale,
yeah.
Obviously, this is the tiny element. We have it for DNL, but just imagine like a massive scale, massive ship or something like that, just integral fun.
Yeah, like a Protoss shuttle or a battle, the inside of a battle cruiser, for example.
So this will be also part of the part of map pack which we plan to have in the future. Yeah, and that is actually more, I would say, more narrative play than, well, we could try as well for the competitive play. We'll see. Okay, that we can skip that one for a second. Let's have a look. If you see any questions, let's answer them. We're doing quite good. It's actually 8:15, so I'm losing my voice for a second.
Will there be future loadouts for units? For example, Marines locked with C14 AGG as their options. How will that work with cards? So the cards are like a separate layer of customizability. They're not really connected with the specific units or the models. Whereas like when you're building a list, when you select a unit, like you get to choose the loadout and upgrades. That they have separate upgrades from like the cards. Maybe we can get like we'll get a card for as an example here, just to show it off.
Yeah, can you change the other camera just in case? Let's make sure that we can.
So this one.
This one. You want to know this one?
Well, I mean, we don't have the unpacking camera.
I do have over there.
Yeah, but it's over there. Yeah, just as an example. So all the ones with up arrows, those are upgrades, and essentially. You can pick those, and they have like all sorts of like unique effects. And in the future, I don't think there's anything stopping us from like adding more weapons to these lists.
Exactly.
Especially with like new sub factions and whatnot.
So when you build your miniatures models, you have to bear in mind that if you're going to upgrade them with the bayonets, you have to upgrade the bayonets and glue the bayonets on the weapon. Then we have a grenade launcher for this one, and AGG-12 weapon, which is separate weapon for the Marines. Normally they come only with a C14 rifle, and then you have additional bits and bobs like frag grenades. We have that one as sprue, so you can glue them on the models, slug thrower, and the shield, so you can add shield, and it says what exactly it does, but that arrow means you have to buy this one as an additional purchase. So as we mentioned at the beginning, the diversity in terms of models, or diversity in terms of units, you can make them much more resilient and much better prepared for any type of other units you may face against each other enemy. So they're good against anything which is light unit, which like Zerglings and so on, but with some upgrades we can increase them, and they could be much better against any other armored units.
Will you sell STL files or only physical boxes? Only physical boxes with plastic. STL isn't really viable with plastic injection, simply because we just need to like physically sell larger amounts for it to even be remotely worth it. Exactly. It's also worth noting this is an IP product, so it's not like we can't just give out the master files for these for the game.
Our company is based around making physical products and models, so we're probably never gonna switch to STLs whatsoever. So yeah. So yes, the miniatures are 32mm. There was a question about the miniature size.
Do you plan water slide decals for at least Terran/Protoss markings? Yes, I believe that is in the plans, right?
We'll see.
Okay, so we'll see. Do you plan SC2 commanders like co-op? Absolutely, yeah. And various different specializations / upgrades plus co-op versus AI. And for Mecha Zerglings, yes, I have also been pushing for Mecha Zergs as well.
Can we eventually expect, I mean, for almost every hero in the game, most of them, yes, because we need references. For those one we don't have it, you're going to have basically card, which means there's a plenty of heroes, by the way. So just in a marine spectrum, you have like about 50 different heroes, but there is not much stuff in the game in terms of references. So there's basically the same one in the same uniform. It's called differently. So we can release those cards, and then you can, let's say, upgrade one of the model in your unit to be a sergeant of XYZ name. But in terms of Zagara and so on, we do have references. They are basically very, very strong heroes. So this means we're going to make them.
Yeah, Sergeant Hammer, Alarak. I mean, Alarak has his own sub-faction planned. Zagara as well, because it's, sub-factions from co-op. Sergeant Hammer, that's a good one. I'd say,
It has different weapon. It's got different weapon, if I remember correctly. So that's only one difference on that. But I'm not quite sure whether we have enough references for that one.
For who?
For Sergeant Hammer.
Oh no, we have more than enough for her. We can also grab her stuff from Heroes of the Storm, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So just quickly to show you how the game round works. This is what I wanted to show you. So as I mentioned, we have phases, and just to mention who go first and actions. This is just to going back to what you have seen it already. So you have a movement phase. Who goes first? It's a victory point, underdog, or 2d6 roll off. In case if we have a draw, so we roll off 2d6 and higher goes first. And then in that activation, in that movement, you can activate a unit, make a movement action, or deploy a unit if supply allows. Or disengage from close combat, and it's basically alternating. So
once you activate a unit and you're done, it goes to the other player.
Yeah. And it just simply places an activation token next to the activation unit just to indicate it. I mean, we found this one, if you are experienced enough, you don't need those tokens, but just in case, it's great to have them on the table, just as a reminder for yourself. And first player to pass takes APM token. Oh, by the way, about the wargaming tokens, for those of you who play wargames, there's only one token in the game at the moment, and there's faction tokens. But you need faction tokens for different elements, like
like dropships, or drop pods, whatever else.
So there's not like heavy tokens whatsoever. You won't be messy, basically. Once we finish this one, once we finish this movement phase, we move to assault phase. In assault, player with APM tokens, so that one who finished first or passed basically first one, is the he activated unit, and he's got several actions to do. So activate a unit, makes a range attack, or take move action. So yes, you can do double move action. So one action you move in the movement phase, and second move action you can do it in the assault phase, or charge action. And here we do the same. It's also alternating. Flip or place, if the unit wasn't previously activated, you place the activation token on exhaust side up next to the activated unit. So you flip it, the activation token is two-sided, just to indicate that that unit already was activated in assault phase. And then we move to the close combat. Player with APM token start first, basically select the models, engage models, so those ones which reach the close combat, or reach the close combat, or basically charge in assault phase, to be activated and make a close combat attack. Simple as that. You have something which is we called at the moment, which wasn't on the Essenspiel, free re-engage action, which means you can just basically get your models a little bit closer to the combat. But that wasn't on Essen. And Essen was a previous version of the rules, by the way, so much more stable. And then both players check for mission victory conditions at the end. Once we finish the combat phase, we just basically check the victory conditions. So we score victory points for the missions, and and we score victory points for anything we have removed from the supply value from your enemy. So those two things. Dice mechanic, that's going to be very boring, but let's check if we have any questions we should answer.
Will heroes have levels similar to the video game that can be purchased for points in army construction? If you're referring specifically to like hero levels in co-op, not really, no. How it's going to work is essentially you're just going to pick like a sub-faction. Essentially, just imagine them that they're all at like level 15, and you have max mastery as well. and you can just get to pick from a list of like things that they have access to. So you know, like individual upgrades from like. Let's take Rainer for example. Like Rainer unlocks some unique upgrades that only he has access to. Like for example, increased range on his Firebats and Medics. That would be like, for example, a unique upgrade that maybe you could potentially buy. Just for example, I'm not saying this is going to be in the game, but just you know, just to give you like a hint, I guess, of some of the things we're planning.
Yep. I'm looking because somebody complains I'm picking questions. I don't know. There's tons of questions here. Some of them we already answered, like, would you add PayPal to website? No, we're not going to be adding PayPal to website. One of the reasons is the PayPal is just PayPal. Are you all willing to fully rework our unit rules if it turns out that it doesn't work, it's not fun? I don't think so.
But I mean, that'll probably be like a feature edition or anything like that. But like, as for fully reworking, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. If we have to fully rework something, because it's so broken, we've done something very, very wrong. The stuff that comes out of here for like, I guess, live service games, like for example, Motu Battleground, it's thoroughly thought out. If it's not fun, then it shouldn't come out of here, basically.
I think this is your question, right? Twilight Zone.
But on that, we will still be balancing stuff if it's like
balancing stuff is one thing. I mean, the game is very fun anyway, so all the units are fun, and the way in the game mechanic you can actually make one unit fun is to make sure that the next releases will combine something with the unit you think it doesn't have fun or it doesn't create fun. So imagine we can release let's say somebody going to say, the Hydras are not fun. Fine, okay, great. So we're gonna get enough information about that one. Once we have enough information about that one, we release the hero, which kind of will make them fun or support them or whatever. This is in the game design. There's lots of options to actually fix the things. It doesn't have to be like let's rewrite them completely, right? So we have to think outside the box, and that's what we're gonna do, and we'll do that with our games. I think that you're referring to this question, right? Because I didn't answer this question. Sorry, there's hundreds of questions. So will you keep on handling the assembly manuals online or will be printed for StarCraft? We will have printed manuals for StarCraft, yes. The one reason why we don't have them for other games, especially for Dungeons & Lasers, is basically the tonnage of the materials we have to add them, because we provide you with, in the Dungeons & Lasers, we provide you with hundreds of miniatures. So that assembly manual will be like 50 pages or 60 pages of assembly manual. That's kind of nonsense to actually have them in every single box. The weight of that one is more than miniatures. So no, for StarCraft, yes, you will find the assembly manual. Okay. Cool. Let's screen it up.
Which level of Super Saiyan Simon just achieved?
4 million.
With how I'm growing out my hair, it's gonna be like Super Saiyan 3, right?
Yeah. What's your energy level? Power, yeah.
Will certain models have certain control value to help determine who controls the VP, or is it just whoever has more troops? So the way it works right now is we only look at supply. So like for example, if you have a big unit, it just has probably more supply, but if you eliminate it like some of the models from the unit, then the supply will also fall, which frees up space for more units to come onto the table, but it also makes it weaker controlling objectives.
However, the heroes have a special rule, which is called hero basically at the moment, and it means that hero just for the contesting of the any controlling any objective, the supply value is increased by 1.
Yeah, so, and there are also like special abilities as well that will do also increase like the supply value specifically just for the purpose of controlling objectives.
Yeah, Zerg's got that one. I think one of the upgrades allows Zerg to have at least one for the controlling objectives. It doesn't matter how many models they're going to lose in the unit. Okay, let's go quickly for the dice mechanic, because this is something we've been working on and lots of things. So we have some baseline. So those things we wanted to do. It needed to be D6 die. Now, why D6 die? I did explain this one several times, but basically it's down to supply. It's making sure that we have them, and
not supply in game, but like outside of the game.
Yeah, outside the product supply basically. It's much easier to get those D6 die, and then on top of that, there's loads of people playing different tabletop miniatures games which use D6 die, and they have their own lovely D6. I don't know. I've got my casino die D6, and I love to use them. So I would like to have the game with that. So it must be small number of dice. This means every single roll needs to be small movement dice. This is not Daka side of it. We needed to have a dice mechanic which is 2 dice roll plus optional. So to make any type of action, attack whatsoever, we cannot have more dice rolling than 2, or maybe 2 and some optional. That's it. And that optional should be around about, I don't know, 50%, less than 50% of the game itself. Then most comprehensible mechanic.
The most comprehensible mechanic of all the ones that we tested.
Yeah.
Essentially, this just means that. Essentially, this just means that the dice mechanic is pretty easy to understand once you like grasp the core basics of it, of how it functions.
I have different word over there. You changed my wording.
Yeah, because the other one was like it had a negative connotation.
Okay, that's great. High damage output in terms of dice rolling, rock paper scissors. This is the search die. So we tested this one. Basically, we just created a massive spreadsheet with all the mechanics we have idea for. So we wrote that lovely program to actually do all the calculations for us to show us which of the mechanic is the most predictable one. That was the word I was using. So eventually, this is the mechanic we have choose and works very well. So you have a hit. That's the one. So I have a hit plus search die optional versus evade optional armor roll. I will explain the search die just in a minute when we actually on the page when we explain the cards. But we did a lot of calculations just to see whether this mechanic is going to work, especially for the number of dice we want to have it. I mean, the whole idea is about when you look at the average. I mean, 12 dice is more than enough to actually dice roll. We don't want to have a bucket of dice, by the way. So there is one unit which is Zerglings. They do have a little bit more dice to roll, but majority of the dice rolls are actually much lower than that. So as you can see, the standard deviation is very good for this mechanic and with the all the modifiers we have in the game, it's actually working very well. So that this one we choose, and then for the defensive you have evade, which is optional, and armor roll. Again, we'll just explain in a minute.
I also want to I guess mention this because there's been also some discussion just around the existence of dice in general, and this is a war game, and in wargaming it's almost universal to have dice in your game, especially things like rolling for charge as well. That's also a pretty universal mechanic. There are some, of course, that I guess have their own kind of like mechanics where they don't use that kind of stuff, but it's by far like the most easiest, most commonly seen mechanic in all games.
It's a randomizer which needs to be there. So if you watching and never play tabletop miniatures games, it's normal. You have miniatures and dice, different type of dice obviously, but the 6 are the most accessible dice what's on the market. So that's the other thing for yourself as well if you want to use those dice. We didn't want to use any D6 die. I know we had like plenty different mechanics, right? We have mechanics to be used like a custom die. The custom die was the best one, but the way we have the way we discussed this one with supplier and everybody was saying, look, if you're going to make custom die, make sure that you at least extend your lease for the 6 months and then wait for the reordering for another 3 to 4 months. That's not optional for us, right? So we needed to move to something which is different but not worse. It's actually, this mechanic is quite good.
We'll save the custom dice mechanic for another game.
In the future, something smaller. Let's talk about this. Okay, this is a example. Again, this is example which gonna definitely change of one of the unit cards you get. So what you see in here is, Shimon, explain.
Yeah, so first statistic over here is speed. Essentially, this is how many inches the unit moves. And when you move a unit, you pick any model in the unit, that becomes the leading model. Then you move out up to however many it says on the speed value. So for example, the Zerglings here, you see on the table, they have 5 inches of movement, so we measure at 5 inches, we move the leading model. This can be any model for every single individual move action, but in this case we could just pick that one, and then you put the rest of them within 3 inches coherency. So anywhere fully within 3 inches of that leading model, you can place down the rest of your units. And they can be behind or in front, but they still have to be like fully within 3 inches of that leading model.
So as you can see, it's very simple, very simple to move your models. There's no additional measuring. Obviously, there's additional mechanic for the coherency, making sure that your unit stays in the coherency. If they not, there is some additional things. Yes, it's all, so technically move 8 inches. That's correct. Yes.
Yeah,
so
and this is intended as well. It's
that's intended. That's intended. So that's the reason why the Hydra's only got 4. It seems to be very low. But if there is a more than 2 miniatures, you also have this additional movement. Now, so many of the units will have long wolf. So long wolf rule. Actually, this became like
I'm pretty sure this became a core rule of the game. So essentially, for the purpose of specifically only the move action, when you do a move action, if you have only a single model in that unit and you started the game with more, your speed value for that specific move action is increased. Yeah. So essentially, this just means because we use a system where you deploy within coherency, but if you only have a single model left, you don't get to use that coherency. So for these cases, you just have your speed increased.
Yeah, and that's very simple movement, and it does many things. First of all, you start much faster, and the game goes very fast. You don't have to spend time on actually measuring every single tiny model, whatever, because most of the cases in other games, you just have to measure each of the individual model, and then making sure that every single model is within the coherency. Here it's much easier.
And again, there's no conga lines, because I can already see the comments. There's no conga lines. It doesn't exist because you have to deploy fully within coherency. So if you don't have any space in the front of you, you have to deploy, to the sides and to the back. So you can't you don't chain off of every single individual unit you place. You have to put them all within a coherency range of the first leading model.
Now, theoretically, you can do the Congo line with 3-inch Congo line. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. It's still, what I'm saying? It's you could do like a tiny Congo line, like a small one.
Yep.
But why would you do that? I mean, you could. It doesn't change anything in a game rule. Yep. So there's not like a very long Congo line. You had it in other games, like in a 5th edition, 6th edition of Warhammer. There was a problem with the Congo lining because you needed only 2 things. So yeah. Don't worry about it. We already thought about this. So what's next one? Next one is evade.
Yeah, evade. So this is specifically for when you charge with a unit. And so in the assault phase, there's 3 different actions you can do. You can move, you can charge, or you can shoot.
Maybe let me explain. Okay, so the evade is additional save. It's a universal save, but it's optional, right? So it's not the save you will get normally. This is the optional save, right? And it happens in several conditions, right? If the unit is in cloak, or unit is hidden, or if the unit is engaged, right? Okay, so
or if it's borrowed. Well, I mean, if it's hidden,
but
I guess
when a unit is borrowed, then
it's
hidden, so you get this additional save if you get targeted, right? So next one.
Next one is armor, self-explanatory. Essentially, when a unit is hit, it gets this save, and if you roll a 5+, then you don't take that damage. Wounds is how much health each individual model has.
There is no wounds allocation, by the way. We don't allocate wounds to individual models in the squad. We do allocate them to the squad itself. And once you reach the threshold, you remove a model.
Yeah, and you pick which one you remove.
But this must be valid target, by the way. So if they are behind the wall and whatever, only the one which is visible can be eliminated. This means you eliminate that model. Size is used for terrain, right?
Yep, that's for line of sight specifically, just to determine if a particular model can see over a piece of terrain or it can't.
Again, this is very simple, straightforward. We don't use any type of true line of sight in the game because it's always a problem with that, and everybody complain about one. Let's go for this one then.
Yeah, so then we have squad size. Essentially, this means how many. When you do a list building, so this is where you decide if you want to go with the smaller squad size or a bigger squad size. And this table here just lets you see how many models you can put in that squad. So if you have, you can put 2 or 4 Hydralisks essentially in a unit.
And the supply is between 2 and 3. So you might say, why this is not 4? Well, the way we operate this one is basically the points, which you cannot see it here, but basically there's additional points cost for each of the units. So obviously the 4-man size, it's a little bit more, should be more, it is more expensive, but it's not double expensive, only because the supply is a little bit cheaper, lower. Actually it is, yeah. So then we have a box for the special abilities, and that special abilities are basically the things that are usually passive, or most of the cases are passive. I just want to remind you that those things with the arrow up means you have to buy them, they're optional purchase. for your unit, and so on. And then we have the boxes for each of the phases. And again, this is extremely easy. That's extremely easy to follow the game, and this is why those cards must be available for the game, because then once we learn the game or teach somebody else the game, we don't have to focus on this or that. This is not important in that phase. We just focus on the movement phase. In the movement phase we have normal actions you can do, and on top of doing normal actions you have those additional elements. So in terms of Hydras at this stage, or at the stage when we read that one up, is you have a burrow ambush. And this is basically the type of deployment you can do, and the unit is basically underground, and they have a lurking special, which is active. You have to spend some kind of resources to actually make this one happen and activate it, but that will be explained in the next version of the game, because we did some small changes. Anyway, then we have that one. Next we have assault phase, and this is where for this unit, when the attack is happening, name of the weapon, right?
Yep, for the ranged, yeah.
RNG, it means range. Rate of attack is 3. This means how many dice you roll for each of the model in a squad. Hit, this is on what value you hit. So that attack is successful on 3+. And then damage 2, this means how many damage you do per unsaved wound. Right, and then we have several keywords. So one of the keywords is target. So this is what you can target. You can target either ground or air unit. And this one is the search mechanic. What we mentioned. Now, Hydra has been very, very versatile, or very, very, good at everything. They do have a search against light and armored. So each of the units, they have their own tags, and this unit is also light. Some of the units will have different tag, like armor whatsoever. So explain how the search works.
Yeah, so essentially, again, search is meant to simulate how effective a unit is against like a particular type of unit. But since Hydrisks are universal damage dealers, they're glass cannons. In this case, they have surge against both light and armored. Essentially, when you roll to hit, so in the case of this Hydra, you roll 3 dice for every model. In this case, you roll an extra surge dice because you roll a d3. So this would be a d6 roll, but you just have the result. And then you add 1 because it has d3 plus 1. And when it's time for your opponent's armor save, so when they go to save your hits, each individual surge that you have in this attack, it cancels out 1 successful save. So if they had, for example, if they had to roll 10 dice to save, and they for example roll 4 successful saves, and you have 2 surges, you'd cancel out 2 successful saves, and they take, in this case, they would take 8 damage in total.
Yeah. So
hits in total.
It's kind of the mechanic which basically is capped, because normally you will find in other games surges in the terms of I hit something and then roll again, just as additional bonus. So there is no ceiling, kind of, because with the number of the units, it scale up with the number of the units models you have in the unit. This mechanic doesn't allow that. And we did that really consciously, just to make sure that we have a ceiling of how many those very, very hit damage you can do per unit, just to make sure we balance this one to that level. However, this mechanic also helps very, very nice in something. It does help with, if you have some leftover units, I call them leftover, like let's imagine you have a squad of 6 Marines, you started with 6 and only 2 of them left on the table. In some other games, player would not activate them because they will find them useless now, because I only have 2 units. With the search mechanic, because of it's still the D3, for instance, for the Marines, they still got quite nice output. So it means there is always worth to activate, even the units is smaller in a miniature count. So again, we fixed that issue with, okay, that unit is useless, I don't have to use it, I don't have to activate it because it doesn't have an output. No, with search mechanic, you will always have output against the type of the unit, a specific type of the unit. So in terms of Marines, they're good against anything light. Okay, so this is why we loving so much this mechanic, right? Because it's like a kind of guarantee of success. Right, and then you have a special additional skills in the assault phase, and then when we move to combat phase, obviously you have some close combat attacks.
Also
D3 is just one roll. D3 is a simple one roll, nothing else.
Yeah, D3 is it's just one roll. But sorry, I need to explain this, because at D3 Essentially, you roll 1d6 and you have the result. So 1, 2 becomes 1, 3, 4 becomes 2, and 5, 6 becomes 3.
Yeah, it's very natural. When you start rolling the dice, you grab all of them. You grab like 10, 12 attack dice, and then one different color die, and you just roll it. And that different color die is your search die. Simple as that.
Yep.
Yeah, and obviously this number will be different for different units, right? So it might be just simple 1, so it might be simple 2, or it might be D3, or maybe D6 in the future for some of the very, very powerful units. Right. There was some technical questions I hear here. One second. Oh yeah, let me just explain you some things additional. So this is example of army, of 2000 points army at the moment, with the points we have in the game for Protoss. So we have a unit of zealots, which of them costing 180, which of them they have like some kind of upgrade for 20 points.
That's four units of zealots, right?
4 units of that, yeah, 4 different units of zealots.
There's also a unit is made up of it can be made up of individual models as well.
Yes.
So how many, this is 2 supply of zealots, right? How many models would this be?
That was the basic one, I think 3 of them. 3 of them. So, and then we have 2 units of adepts, one of them with upgrade, one without upgrade, a single sentry, and then we have a stalker unit, and then an additional stalker unit, and then Artanis on top of that. So this is your 2000 points of army, and that's your available supply. Right, so you build your army, you build all those things. Then we have this one. In total, you got 16 supply, and on average, 50% stays in your reserve. You go through them during the game. It's not like I won't have a miniatures to put on the table. Believe me or not, the game is so rapid. Things is happening on the table. You're gonna be able to go through all your models you have in your collection for 2000 points game.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that there's a lot of cards in the game as well that allow you to deploy from various angles or sides. Even some cards that allow you to take back a unit back into your reserves and maybe deploy it from somewhere else.
Yeah, so there was they played today when one of the units was actually engaged by Zerglings, was charged by Zerglings, that was the Marauders, and the player actually had a card which allows him to take a dropship and remove them from the table. So he did like a movement action, and at the end of the movement action he removed wounded because they had some damage on them, removed them off the table, releasing basically supply. And because of the movement phase hasn't finished yet, he was able to bring other unit on the table, which was the Marines. So you have this, you can sometimes bite enemy into a small, like in StarCraft, right? So you want the enemy to actually push too far, a little bit onto your side of the table, then you remove something and put something else on the table. And the other very nice mechanic I've seen some other guys played, where I was with the proxy barracks. So you had your miniatures on the table, you remove one of the miniatures through dropship, and then had a proxy barrack, releasing one supply, and the player has actually one more supply available because it was following round, and he removed a squad of the Marines and brought on the table Goliath just on his side, absolutely perfectly on the side of the Zerg, so he was able to unleash the mayhem against Zerglings. But going back to this one, it just explained to you, in total you have a 16 supply in this army, on average 50%, 40 to 50% you keep them in the reserves, and then supply drop, and one of the missions, which is supply drop mission, starting supply is 9, and then you get one additional supply every turn. So by round 5, you should have like 14 supplies on the table if you haven't lost anything, which won't happen unless we don't play.
There's also a question here I can see. How does cover work? Does it improve armor saves? No, the way cover works in this game is it only acts as a line of sight blocker, so it doesn't improve armor saves. There's also no true line of sight, as mentioned earlier. You just draw a direct line from one base to another to determine line of sight. Yeah,
on a cover save, we did try many solutions for the cover save, and really it's just very clunky mechanic in general in the wargaming. So we decided that we're not gonna go for any type of cover save. You just simply you do have evade, which is used for something else in some other occasions, like like we mentioned, if the unit is in cloak, if the unit is hidden, and hidden this means it's underground, or it's got a specific hidden keyword added for some reason, right? So we might be like adding due to game effects.
So if you surge D3 but miss all your normal attacks, do you still cause failed D3 saves? No, it's only for hits specifically. So your attacks first have to hit for surge to really do anything.
Exactly. what is the starting fixed? What is the starting supply fixed to compare it to your maximum supply? I did explain this one here. So you have like 50% on the table, 50% off the table. In some of the games will be much more, because we allow different missions will need more miniatures on the table, so just to get quicker to the action, and you have a little bit less reserves, and some of the missions will have more reserves and so on. It's really like, I don't know, I don't, Shimon knows, but I really like this mechanic. It's like very, very like surprising to your enemy. You can basically have something he wasn't aware that you're gonna bring on the table, and combining this one with the mobility of this game is crazy. So how many booths for dice rolls will be can affect add-up is very little. We're trying to minimize any type of having rerolls and all those things in the game, because they're usually not very good, not working very good. This dice mechanic actually works at the moment as it is, especially with the search against this type of units. There is maybe +1, sometimes +1 here and there, but that's about it.
I think he's referring specifically to buffs for dices. So for example, you know, like +1 to your hit roll.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned.
Yeah,
so,
or +1 to armor. So those mechanics definitely exist. But they're like, again, somewhat
can you
limited.
target cloak models? Yes. So we need to allow to actually have an ability to target, but you can target only if they're not revealed. So if you haven't done any scan whatsoever, you can only target them within 4 inches. And even if you do so, they still get evade roll. And by the way, evade roll save as well any type of surge die. So if you're able to save all the rolls because of evade, then no surge.
Yeah, so, you know, Dark Templars, they won't be as oppressive if you don't have any detection. They can still, you know, really surprise you.
Oh, they'll do their job.
Yeah, they'll do their job. They can get it close if you don't detect them.
Yeah.
And in that case, they're going to do a lot of damage. But it's not like they're just going to be completely invulnerable, and you just get to, you know, sit there and watch as your entire army just dies to a couple of Dark Templars because you forgot to build some detection.
Obviously, we have to make sure that, you know, cloak units whatsoever, they are targetable at some point, right? I mean, initially when we tested, we said, okay, why not? Well, let's make the game where you cannot target at all the cloak units, and wasn't working. So yeah, we need to make sure that you have very, very limited range to target them if you don't have any tools to conquer. But then again, they're always gonna get surge die. Okay.
So generally, around 16 supply pre-built in my list. What's killed off is gone. I've burned through my list. Is it possible to burn through all my reserve units before the game ends?
Truly, yes. Yeah, you will do that. I mean, every round, like this round today, on the round 2, they lost about 2 supply, and the 1 supply was added, 3 supply. They could put 3 supply on a table.
I mean, they likely, okay, more specifically, I think what he's referring to is when you go through to your reserves, almost never are you in a situation where you're like fully tabled, so like out the game, because you've lost all your units. So you will, over the course of the game, you will fully deploy everything that's in your reserves. That much is like pretty much guaranteed. But you likely won't be able to get all of them killed, essentially, unless you're just like running headfirst and not even shooting.
Yeah. There is one more victory conditions, which we say, like we call this one at the moment overkill. So this means if the enemy's got more than 8 victory points than the other opponents, I mean, this is mission dependent, obviously, then the game ends. But to get there, you really have to don't play the game, and the other player needs to play the game. So, yeah.
Can we expect all cloaking units to come with a separate cloak variant model like Zeratul did?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say yes. We're still in the process of doing that, by the way. So I said yes, but we might change. But that's my idea. That's my dream. I would like to have like Templars, when you go for Templars, to have at least, if not every single model being cloak and uncloak, just at least have one model in a pack to be cloak as an option, by the way. So we see how much we can do with the tooling, by the way, because it costs lots of money. So we need to make sure that we don't we don't go broke because we want to do something crazy.
Flying units like Mutalisks immune to close combat. Yes. So we actually, funnily enough, we recently had this discussion. Are there any units in the game with a melee attack that hits air? and that's a ground unit as well. And there is specifically only one, I think, in the entire game, and it's the Haka. In co-op, once he reaches a certain level, with a melee attack, he can start hitting air units as well.
Yeah.
But I think that's the only example in the entire game.
Yeah.
But other than that, in our game, they will be immune to close combat.
Yeah. The downside for the flying units at the moment is that they cannot they not capture any objectives. So they're very reload, hitting models and so on, but not capturing objective at this stage.
Will we get models to reveal cloaked/borrowed units like photon cannons and turrets, or will it be limited to tactic cards and/or tokens?
I did mention this one, so you have like different type of cards. I mean, I have one here to show you. If I scroll up quickly, one of the cards was from the game we had at Essenspiel. It's this one. So you got orbital command, and there is a scan. So place a faction token on the table. All hidden units within 6 inches of that token are revealed.
Yeah, but he's asking if there's going to be models.
Models, we don't know yet. Maybe yes. Some of them should have detection. So
like a Raven, for example.
Raven, for instance, should have detection. Yes.
Yep. Are we planning on implementing turrets as well, like buildings?
No, not this type of things, because there is no need for that. So let's talk quickly about the army building, right? So that's also quite important. So we have the units are divided between the core, supply, heavy, air, and hero. And here we have those things. So this is just an example. It doesn't mean it's going to be like that. But faction allocation. This is your vanilla. You can select three supply worth of core, 2 supplies worth of support, 1 supply of heavy, one support of air, and 1 hero supply. And then with the cards you're going to buy, so those tactical, not strategic, tactical cards. So those ones you have seen it on top. They will also increase some supply. So for instance, barracks will give you +1 core. Yeah, so if you want a strategy of build around mainly about Zerglings, you should think about the spawning pools and some basic buildings which will gonna increase your core, because you want to have more Zerglings in the game. But yeah, that's the whole concept. And then through that you have the points value of the unit plus upgrades to the agreed limit. Again, vanilla is about 2,000 points, but if you want to play 4,000 points or 1,500, it's up to you. It's totally up to you. You can basically play any type of game, but we say vanilla is about 2,000 points.
And do keep in mind all of this is still very much subject to change, because it's very recent. Like this stuff is we're still working on it, of course.
Yeah, obviously it is. I mean, this is like we still have to test it, try it, and run all the simulations, possible to get there. And then last one is plus additional points for tactical cards. So if you're going to buy any type of tactical cards, they're not costing you the army points. Army points are miniatures points. The additional, you get like additional 10% of the points we agreed to play. So for 2,000 points, you have 200 points to spend on your cards, on your buildings, basically, on your strategy, on your building, tactic strategy, whatever the cards you're gonna have available. So simple as that. And that's the combination. That's 3 layers of combination of building army: points, supply, and cards. Obviously, with points I mean you spend on the miniatures and the miniatures upgrades. Okay, so 6 pool Abak. Of course it is. How many times you can use? You can use round per round, basically. One round.
Yeah, it refreshes. They all refresh at the beginning of a new round.
Yes.
There's another question here. How will characters impact the game? Is there a leader mechanic? For example, Kerrigan and Sagara having different rules.
Oh yeah. So something you have seen it probably on top. We have something which is called at this stage the faction card, and every single faction every single hero will have its own faction card. So Kerrigan, for instance, allow you to bring on the table a Nidus Worm. And you have to play specifically her faction card instead of vanilla one, which you find in the box, in order to actually use this miniature on the table. But she also has additional 2 different rules, which change slightly the way how you play with other units. So yes, that is already discussed, and that's what we're going to play. So that will give you a lot of variety in the gameplay. So you can play vanilla, you can play Kerrigan, or you can play Zagara, depending on the rules you like it and the army you want to construct it, right? So it's quite deep, I would say. I mean, normally, how many cards you will find on a table? It's around about 4.
It depends on the size of the game. So for the standard, for the small table format, it's probably going to be around 3 to 4. Whereas for the big table format, it's going to be probably around closer to 5 or 6.
6 will be difficult, but yes, something like that. Yes, but you will have enough resources and use those cards if you play a little bit bigger game.
Mm-hmm. Can I deploy elite units from round 1, or are elite units limited to later rounds? If yes, besides supply, is there a limiting factor? Besides supply, no. But again, generally speaking, in the earlier rounds, you want to kind of like more secure your position on the table. So in those cases, you do want to use lower supply units to just spread around and
capture objectives. You want to have more activations than the enemy at the beginning. At least for the round 1, 2, and 3, you want to have more activations. So this is why going for like a large unit with less activation is not always the good idea, because you're going to lose control on a table. Yes, you're going to have a punch, you have the power to do something. When you capture the objective, it will be yours for some time. However, the enemy can actually out maneuver you. Yeah. This keep coming back. No, unfortunately, no. We don't have any plans at the moment to make any type of X-Wings type of game in the StarCraft universe.
Yeah, but we do have our own games, which is going to be pretty similar to that.
Yeah. Right.
When do you think we will see the first additional faction released? After the 3 main ones all have their StarCraft units?
Actually, all of them will have like StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2, and many other units we'll find in the canon. So there's quite a lot of content. I mean, I did mention when I did like a spreadsheet for how much content we can release. It's about 9 years of content to be released, and that's quarterly. So there is a lot of content for this game, a lot of content in the game. And when we're going to see additional faction, not sub-faction, there is some thinking about adding like a full faction, which could be potentially, I'm saying, so everything is subject to change, could be a hybrids. Measurement in the game are taken from the base edge. So everything we measure is from base to base, basically. So there is no measurement from like a weapon of models whatsoever. We're just basically measuring from the base to base. Yeah, if I try to deploy zealots but have no supply, actually you can be supply block in this game. You could be supply block if in the first round you're only going to put all your supply 1 units on a table, and then whatever remained in your supply in your reserves is supply 2, and you haven't lost anything first round, and the next round you're only going to get 1 supply. This means you supply block. For the next round, you can add anything else. You just have to build new pilots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there is some thinking about like how you want to open. Deploying your units onto the table.
Exactly, and again, those deployment strategy is very, very important in the game.
How do you plan to work with textual units or models that never directly show up but only get mentioned in books or short stories?
That's quite difficult because I don't know whether we're going to be able to do so many things.
Obviously, I think probably much later. Like first, we're going to be definitely focused on the things that we have like physical or visual concepts for that we can visually see. But stuff like stuff that's only mentioned in text, it's probably going to have to come significantly later, because that also comes with us having to make 2D assets for it, 2D and then 3D assets for it, which comes with like a whole separate approval process from Blizzard. Because it's kind of like a new thing we're kind of creating.
But as we have a content, everything which you have like a good content, we're gonna available content, we will use it and do it. Mm-hmm. Train marine visors still planned with clear plastic. Obviously, yes. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be quite a lot of clear plastic. I was a little bit nervous about clear plastic when we took them on Essence Spiel. I wasn't sure what people were going to say initially, but I haven't heard any bad comment about clear plastic, so that's great.
No, I think it's pretty cool.
So you're gonna get them in the boxes, by the way, so it's not like you have to buy something separately. Supply block in the game 100%. Yeah, it is. There's a many StarCraft moments in this game. Many. So what other languages will be added? So definitely German, French, Spanish, and that's about it. I'm not sure about the Polish.
Also Korean, no?
Korean, yes. Korean, as well.
Korean and Polish. So from what I remember, all the languages we have on our website, we planned to release a language version for them, right?
That's correct, yes. That's correct.
Yeah, so that would include Polish and Korean.
Initially, obviously, it's going to be English, and we need to make sure the English is out, make sure that everything is working perfectly as we want, and so on, yeah?
Mm-hmm. How would units like lurkers that attack in a line versus directly translate into this? Piercing?
It's simple. It's basically the attack in a straight line. You place your measuring stick, and whatever is within the range or whatever gets attacks. So if there's a 2 units only line of attack, the 2 units are gonna get hit. So instead of hitting 1 unit, you just basically attack in a straight line. So those rules are actually quite simple. I mean, the whole concept why we divided in the phases is also to use like spellcasters, right? So imagine Storm, you place a token and there's a Storm cast by the Templar in the movement phase. It does some effect, so hits you, and then it carry on till next phase, the assault phase. And then effectively you have options to maybe move away from that token, making sure that you're not gonna get any other damages. So we have to have those options in the game to counter some very, very powerful elements. Heroes of Magic, yes. We will do additional update on the Heroes of Magic, the board game through update on the game found once we have that one. Because I'm not ready for this question, to be honest, at this stage. I didn't ask my team basically. I see a lot of miniatures of Firebat. Firebat? I don't think so.
Yeah, so all of them were actually Marauders, although I'm not sure if it was like fully clear. Because I mean, the Marauders and Firebats, I'm pretty sure they wear like pretty much the exact same suit. The only real difference would be like the color scheme, obviously, and the weapon that they have. But yeah, the models we had at Essenspiel, they were all Marauders.
Yeah.
But they will. They're not. The Firebats is going to be a completely separate unit with different sculpts and everything as well.
Yeah. Yes, I was aware about that one because they use PP material. We don't use PP, we use HIPS material, so it doesn't change color, it doesn't get yellowed. Do I have anything here? Was like years on my shelf. Clear plastic. That one sits. That lovely model sits here for.
Yeah, it's been here for a year, and it's not.
This model has been here for a year. You can see on the back, he's got like clear plastic. That's the clear plastic. So we use a completely different material than it's used by GW, and doesn't change. Does not change. And we have lots of them in a cupboard downstairs, and which is on the next to the window, and hasn't changed color whatsoever. So it's different material. It's very good material. You can use plastic glue, by the way, normal plastic glue. You don't have to use super glue for that. Oh yeah, we have to have rules for that. So we work on some models now. I cannot tell you much, but yeah, we work on some StarCraft 1 models now, which we want to add to the game.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a bit of questions about Australian distribution. So yeah, definitely we will be working on that. We already have a distributor in Australia, I believe, and we will be working together with them to get this game into Australia.
Yep, that's what it is. It's not going to cost you arm and leg whatsoever, because Australians actually pay a lot of money for the hobby. I don't know why, but it seems to be paying quite a lot for the hobby comparing to Europeans. But no, it's gonna be the same price. I don't see any reason why we should charge more just because it's like.
Oh, it's specifically for shipping because when they want to get the game from our website, it's.
It doesn't make sense if the product is shipped from UK to USA and it's shipped to Australia. It costs the same, almost the same. So
I'm pretty sure it's much more expensive to ship to Australia.
No, it's not. We've been shipping to Australia.
Well, I mean, definitely for
because
shipping.
it goes to Australia, it goes back to China. Then you know what I'm saying. Yeah, so it's one way for them. So instead of going empty, they go to they go from Europe, and then on the way back they stop in Australia and then go back to China. So it's like, pff. Anyway, we're working with USA distribution that can also distribute to LATAM. I think so. Yes, I think yes. We have like a number of distributors globally, especially United States. So one of them for sure is going to be pushing down the south.
Will we be able to combine High Templar into Archons on the field, or must we field Archons separately?
I don't know. I wish to have that mechanic. We're not that far away from that. We're far away from that mechanic. So, yeah, I don't know. I wish. We'll see how it works in the game. Okay, I think we're gonna be wrapping up because it's been almost 2 hours. That's one of the longer stream recently, and we both feeling tired, right?
I mean, I don't know about you. I could go for a couple more hours.
I am old.
No, I understand. I need to go home as well.
And I've been here from 8 o'clock in the morning, so for me it's like been 14 hours of work at the moment. So I'm feeling tired a little bit.
Well,
I'm guessing we will need another one, just last one, just before the release, or during release, when we do release, maybe like that, or maybe a little bit before. We'll see if we have enough materials to show you, and it's going to be more questions. Definitely, we're going to do one more Ask Me Anything regarding StarCraft. Again, disclaimer: whatever you have seen today, whatever you heard today, is fully subject to change based on the playtest and so on. That's something.
Yes, no minerals and gas in competitive, but will we get those in the campaign mode? I think so. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
We've still got some time before we need to design the campaign or narrative modes.
Yeah, I've got
right
somebody
now
who's gonna be focusing on that one anyway. So
yep.
We might have that one in the campaign. We must cover the campaign because at the end of the day, it's about the campaign, building your army, stepping up, and so on. So we do have mechanic, by the way, we did that in previous games, which allows you to actually start very small box and then grow your army, get your army bigger gradually. So something like
that. Did you say anything towards the price of the units / starter boxes?
Starter box, we don't know the price yet. We were thinking about for all the content you're gonna get. So 2 faction models, miniatures, terrain. Maybe some playing mat, but that's the big one. We don't know whether it's going to be including playing mat or not. If it's going to be including playing mat, it should be around about from $150 to $160 as a starter box. So that's going to give you enough to actually enjoy the game. And then proto starter box around about 60, 70, 80. We don't know yet because we need to know what other content we're going to be adding in. I was thinking to add some pylons to proto starter box just to have some pieces of terrain. So yeah, that's about it. And then in terms of units, you will find them in the range of $25 to $35, something like that. So it's not like we're gonna be doing crazy. We don't want to do crazy. It's an affordable tabletop miniatures game.
Yeah, I mean specifically the Zeratul promo miniature, because there was some discussion online about this as well. The promo miniature for Zeratul, it is a little bit more expensive than like our usual releases.
I want to make it on 25. I was convinced to make 30. So I want to make it to 25. But
yeah, I mean, listen, it's not up to me. I didn't say anything.
Okay, but I've been convinced this is like a very nice special miniature we should be making just in case 30 or whatever. I don't know why just in case I said, but just make it 30. We did 30, so it was a little bit expensive on the expensive side, but you have 2 of them in box. So if that was 1 sprue, there would be no discussion about it. Yeah, you have 2 sprues. You have a clear plastic sprue and normal sprue, so yeah.
So Subsurian asks, is the point defense drone we saw at Spiel something that we'll see deployable on its own, or is the mechanics it interacts with? So similar to the Nidus Worm for Kerrigan, it's a specific mechanic where
for Rain Raiders card.
So big Hyperion deploys a point defense drone.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's very good. It's very good in the game, and if you use them correctly, that's actually good. It works like in a video game, right? So you're actually going to absorb first 3 hits, and then it's disappear, and you can actually add it every round. every turn you can actually place it somewhere on a tabletop on a board, as long as it's far away from the enemy. Enemy can actually target it as well, but it's pointless because he's gonna absorb 3 hits. Works very well. Yeah. So as you can tell, we use quite a lot of game mechanics from the video game. Can I manually blow up my bannerlings for no reason, like in the game? I don't think so. We have a mechanic which is called in a game
impact hits, but it's not visible on the Hydralisk because it doesn't have it.
Oh, they don't have it.
Yeah.
They don't have the impact hits, but in general, when you get in charge, and if you get in charge, some specific units have additional attack like impact hits. So they're gonna be basically hitting on in assault. So you move them like a charge, and you get in there, and you blow up basically. So we have mechanics for non-lethal wounds, but we're not gonna be talking about that one today.
How many Marines in one box? That depends on the box. So, as mentioned earlier, in the starter set, we're gonna have 2 units of Marines. So that's 6 Marines in each unit. We're gonna have
a very good question. I tell you why it's a very good question. Because here you can see you got 2 minutes, 2 minutes of 4 minutes. 4 minutes. So the 4 minutes is a large unit, or you can make 2 units of 2 models, right? But what we said and what we decided for the boxes, we always gonna go for the maximum amount of miniatures you have per squad. So that doesn't mean you have to buy 2 squads of 2 minis. You buy 1 squad and you have two of them individually. So the value is even better for you in terms of this type of units, right? So yeah. And same for the Marines. So Marines is a maximum 9. You can set up 6 or 9. So you need to have 9 in a box.
Yeah,
like
but that'll be like
box.
Again, that'll be in like the individual box, which only would contain Marines in this case.
Exactly. So you're always going to have the higher number of miniatures.
Yeah. Again, what is all in the starter box? So for the Terrans, we have 2 units of Marines, which is 6 Marines each. We have a unit of Marauders, which is 2 models of Marauders. We have Medics, 1 unit of Medics, which is 3 individual models of Medics. And then moving on to the Zerg. The Zerg has 1 big Queen model. They have 2 units of Zerglings, which is 12 Zerglings each. And then they have a unit of Roaches, which is 3 Roaches, 3 Roach models. And then also with that, there's like a whole bunch of terrain as well. Enough to play like on a small table format, and potentially mat as well, but we're not 100% sure yet.
Yeah, working on that one to make sure. I've seen the very nice material for the mat. If I'm gonna get like good price from supplier, then we're gonna go for this.
Which unit is most exciting for you ability-wise? So I mean, we're not gonna get there until like quite some time. But for me,
Battle Roaches. They can move underground.
Yeah, I mean, Burrow Roaches are cool.
This was actually used today as well. That lurking skill was used today. So that was a game between Alexander and Jacek, and Jacek actually put his queen a little bit forward in order to actually get shot by the Marines. They did that, and then when the Marines shot, and then Jacek used this skill. Actually, not this one. Sorry, I meant launch that one. So he was managed to actually move the hydraulics closer to what's the name, Marines, and be in range to attack them. So, but you find some of this type of mechanics in the game. But I think lurkers at the moment are very, very interesting. I like Zerglings and some of the mechanics they have.
Yeah, I mean, I just personally can't wait until we get to like some of the more like co-op faction-specific abilities. Because I'm a big fan of co-op. StarCraft 2 co-op, a big fan. Like Stukov is one I'm pretty interested in. Definitely Tychus. Tychus is probably my favorite. Mengsk also has some cool stuff in there. It's hard to single out a single ability.
Will Protoss be able to warp in out like you mentioned with terrain? Yes. Yep, they will be able to. And what's great about this, Artanis is actually coming with this, with pylon. So you can place this pylon anywhere on a table, and you have to protect it obviously because the enemy can actually destroy it. But you will be able to warp in through that pylon on a table in a tabletop miniatures game. How cool is that? How cool is that?
We know heroes will get variant sculpts / models, but will there be variants of the same heroes with entirely different units and bases? Yes, that is planned as well. We will have heroes from essentially alternate, different timelines, or essentially different timelines. So we would have like StarCraft 1 Jimmy probably on a bike. And then, right now we're also going to be releasing the regular Reyna from StarCraft 2 with assembly options for either a sniper rifle or a regular C14 rifle. Or is it a commando rifle? I think it's called a commando rifle.
We did mention this one at the beginning of the stream. Do we have a date for the pre-orders and who the distributors are by then? We will start pre-orders in January. So we're looking at January pre-orders and shipping in March. And pre-order is going to happen through our website first, and then we plan to do the distributors. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there will be small difference between receiving from our website with some additional content, by the way. So if you're going to pre-order through us, you're going to get additional content, and then 3 months later the distribution will get. And the main reason is basically we a little bit worry about whether, although we're a large factory, huge factory, I'm not quite sure whether we're going to be able to supply the game into the demand that is happening at the moment. So we have lots of questions, lots of queries about this.
Can we expect a possibility of Void Ray cheese? Maybe in the future. No. I'm not going to say.
I don't think so. You can do Void Ray cheese.
Void Rays are like massive in lore.
Yeah.
So for Australians, we will definitely be supplying these in Brisbane and online. Can't wait for the game to come out. One of our distributors have been talking about supplying them. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Does the alternating activations favor going last so you can see what your opponent does? Absolutely not, it's the other way around. Essentially, how it works is you can choose to pass your current activation, so all the activations in your current phase, so you can go first next round. So if you do this, if you pass early, then you allow your opponent to do all their activations, to activate all their units in this round, which can be a pretty big advantage. But on the flip side, you will get to go first in the next round. It's kind of in the next phase. It's kind of similar to like a game of chicken, where you don't want to pass too early because then you give up too many important activations. But you also still want to pass because going first in the next phase can be quite pivotal.
Will this game have what you see, what you get, and tell me how the Marines' shields are attached? So they can be removed if they don't have upgrades, for example. Well, the Marines actually shields are glued, so you glue them on the miniature. It's flexible, really. What you see, what you go. We're not gonna be demanding people to actually do that because it's how the people play the games at tabletop miniatures games.
They don't care,
Yeah, they sometimes, as long as your enemy will know this unit is got the shields or doesn't have a shield, then fine. Because otherwise we're gonna have to tell you, buy more models or buy more miniatures. I'm never gonna say buy more models or buy more miniatures. So, did you mention what is in the? Yes, I did at the beginning of the stream, but just to repeat myself, you're gonna get Zealot, Stalker, Sentry in Protostata, and you have 2 units of Zealots.
Not Stalker, it's Adept.
It's not Stalker, is exactly Adept. A Stalker is additional model which gonna be purchased as well once we do release. That is correct, yes. Thank you for answering this question for me. So it's a 36 inches by 36 inches, and for the larger 36 by 72. Magnets, how do they work? You mean magnets are under the base?
I'm pretty sure he's referring to a meme there.
Maybe yes, but if you're asking for there was some question about the base. So that's the base for the game, and you have a slot for magnets down there. So, but if you didn't ask for this, so maybe something like that. Blah, blah. Anyway, I'm feeling very tired.
Yep.
It's been a little bit long day for me. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us in that stream. We plan to do more of this, must be. And please keep your questions for the next stream. I think we will do maybe one more before Christmas. just for the for this one to wrap up all the changes and to show you what exactly has changed in the game. Maybe more technical. Let us know what exactly you would like to see. I'm guessing we're going to be able to show you more miniatures, more painted stuff and things like that. And yeah, have a good one. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And one last question from Subsaurian.
Yes.
Are Wings of Liberty mercs planned? Absolutely, they are. They will be in the future, with separate sculpts, of course, because they're unique models.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was fun to see you in S and minis look gorgeous in person. Oh yes, that's for sure. We have I haven't heard nobody complaining about the miniatures. Everybody was saying, "Wow, this is the proper quality for this minis for this game." So we're so happy to have that one. Anyway, thank you. Bye bye.
Yep. Thank you for coming.